Welcome to the Town of Abingdon's Historic Preservation Review Board's regular meeting. This is a citizen board appointed by the Town Council to interpret and uphold Abingdon's Historic Preservation Ordinance, which is Chapter 44, Section 2-4 of the Abingdon Zoning Ordinance that protects the historic district of Abingdon, which has been designated the Old and Historic District, along with all of its contributing resources, including buildings, structures, and sites, from negative encroachment resulting from inappropriate construction, design, alterations, or demolitions. Our review process is guided by our design review guidelines, which are based on the United States Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. Our aim on this board is to provide a positive bridge between the design process and review process and property owners seeking to make changes to their properties, working together through the natural partnership that exists between us for mutual good. The result will be to ensure Abingdon's historic district continues as a valuable asset and one that makes Abingdon a good place to live, to work, and to visit. We appreciate your interest and we encourage public participation in our meetings. Your comments are important to our decision-making process. Anyone who addresses the board will please approach the podium, identify your first and last name, and give your complete mailing address. I'm Betsy White, the chair. Roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Here.
Mrs. Pillion? Mrs. Hartshorn?
Here.
Mrs. White?
Here.
Mrs. Bunn?
Here. All right, I understand that we don't have minutes available yet, so we'll skip approval for the minutes tonight and go straight on to the certificates of appropriateness. The first one is Karen Moore. First of all, we'll have a staff report and then your presentation.
So Karen Moore, applicant, and Town of Abingdon owner have requested approval of certificate of appropriateness for the installation of public art in the form of signage for the urban pathway onto a portion of the town right-of-way, specifically the south side of Depot Square. In total, 105 existing bricks will be painted in muted, multicolored, analogous color palette groups of 5 along the edge of the existing brick sidewalk. Approximately every 24 feet, there will be a small grouping of painted bricks. The proposed 105 existing bricks painted in muted, multicolored color palette groups of 5 are within the old and historic zoning districts of District 3, Yardison focused. Background: the town of Abingdon is known for its historic resources and charm. In the early to mid 20th century, numerous portions of sidewalk were converted to brick with limestone edging that can still be seen today. This is not one of those sections, though. It doesn't have limestone edging. It doesn't have anything. It's just something that was put in way after it was put into place. So these are more modern bricks. Staff findings. The applicant proposed to install public art in the form of signage for the urban pathway onto a portion of the town right-of-way, specifically the south side of Depot Square. In total, 105 existing bricks will be painted in muted, multicolored, analogous color palette groups of 5 along the edge of the existing brick sidewalk, so pretty much just edge here and everything. And this is just starting from the train station, going down to the end. For example, yellow/orange/red, yellow/green/blue, blue/violet/red, orange/red/yellow, violet, and violet/blue/green. Each grouping of 5 bricks will be painted by the same qualified artist for continuity in design. Approximately every 24 feet, there will be a small grouping of painted bricks. The conversion of numerous portions of town sidewalk in the early to mid 20th century to brick with limestone edging, and more recently, numerous portions of concrete sidewalk converted to brick with concrete edging, due to the absence of limestone edging, is not a contributing resource in Abingdon's Old and Historic District. However, the brick sidewalks with limestone or concrete edging contribute to creating a historic feel of Abingdon's Old and Historic District. So again, these are not contributing resources. It just adds to a charm. The proposed painting of existing bricks within a town right-of-way along the south side of Depot Square could be seen as a temporary measure due to the paint's durability. Painting of the existing bricks does not result in the loss of material related to any contributing resource, nor does it detract from any contributing resource. Currently, there are no painted sidewalks within Abingdon's Old and Historic District. So as you see in your packet, you'll see the photos. Again, I'll just start here. This is the corner at the train station. Then you're going down further towards the end, towards more Fuller Street, Depot Square. There's the Arts Depot going further down the sidewalk, and then that's kind of the end. I'm on Fuller Street there, looking back down Depot Square. Here's the color circle they provided. I've included this, but this doesn't really do it justice in a sense, so if they have a hard copy, they can provide it to you here just to show what these would really look like. But that's also the kind of the color palette also. If you have any questions for me, and I can answer them now. If not, the applicants are here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, let's proceed right on to the applicant, unless we want to ask Gabe a question. Okay, welcome. Come right on up.
Hello, my name is Karen Moore. I reside at 16287 Mary Street, Abingdon, Virginia. I work as arts administrator at the Arts Depot, 314 Depot Square Southwest. We first got this public art idea when people would come through our door asking about where does the urban pathway go, and so we thought maybe we could mark it with art markers, as well as install some other public art, which we did. We got approval from the Arts Commission, and they gave us funds to do that. And so we are planning to install bricks on Elm Street, which is not in the historic district, on Preston Street, as it goes over to Hagee, just to show people where the path goes there. And then from Wall Street to Fuller Street is one block. And that's the part we're talking about tonight. So citizens at large, just the public in general, have been coming in to paint bricks for the Elm Street part. But for the block along Depot Square, that will be qualified artists that we solicit individually so that there's a quality to the art product. There's no need to remove any bricks for painting. We will clean, prime, and then the artist will paint, and then we will seal the bricks for longevity. The artwork will be maintained by us until the town decides to remove it. When the town decides they no longer want the markers, the bricks could simply be turned over to replace them and cleaned again. So it's an easy installation and it's an easy deinstallation. Let's see. The art markers provide continuity along the trail for bike riders and pedestrians to know they're still following the pathway, and also to just enhance the experience with public art. And I brought along some examples of how the groupings might look. So we plan to put 105 bricks in the pathway. I'm going to bring this up there.
Okay.
So we'll just pick a grouping of bricks in different combinations. And an artist might choose, on their 5 bricks, they might choose to paint one whole scene on the entirety of the 5 bricks, or they might choose to do 5 different little scenes. And then I brought along a professional artist to talk about color, and we would be interested in the review board's guidance as far as what you would like to see and what tone it should take, and what you might envision that artwork looking like, since it's on a historic pathway. I also brought hard copies of color. We have that in our packet. You do have that?
Yeah.
Yes, we have
Okay.
that.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about the artwork itself or the color scheme, that would be Stephen Reeves who can answer that.
Okay. Well, we probably do have some questions. It's a new thing to talk about.
Yes.
So just to clarify, the bricks themselves will be painted a color, and then there will be an image repainted on top of that.
The top of the brick will be painted with a white primer,
Uh-huh.
and then the artist will paint a scene on the brick, like either a landscape or a,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it won't necessarily be this yellowish
oh,
color?
no, that's just highlighting how we might group the bricks.
Oh, okay. I didn't-
Together.
I
But
didn't
there might be a nice mountain scene
I see,
or
okay.
a horse pasture or a historic building portrayed on them. And so if you had any ideas about how you wanted that artwork to look, or if you wanted to have a theme to it, we would be happy to go that route. We hope to get the bricks installed by June 30th. And it's also a temporary project. We view public art as temporary, and so the town could deinstall it at whatever time they thought it wasn't serving the needs.
Okay. Okay, how about questions, anybody?
I have
questions.
Yes.
I have a couple questions. First of all, I've walked this pathway. I have never gotten lost, so I don't really understand. There's so many signs there already directing you to the urban pathway, and I know that we do have a policy of not painting bricks.
Mhm.
That's a really strong guideline that we do have. Another thing that I'm concerned about is approving something without knowing what it's going to be. I mean, we don't know what these are going to look like when they're done, and
Yes.
that's kind of a concern for me.
Well, that's one of the reasons I was hoping to get some guidance from y'all, or, if we wanted to do all landscapes or all historic buildings. And also, it's not the general public that would be painting them. I understand your concern, certainly. And then it's temporary, so we
Well, I
would,
realize that, but it's also not temporary. I mean, you're going to have these, who's going to decide once they're all chipped and peeled to flip them over? I guess I'm just really confused about the project and the necessity for it.
So what you're saying that it's easily reversible.
yes.
Any other questions right now?
I don't think this board should be specifying the subject of the artwork. I mean, that's what the artists are for. So I would leave that to the discretion of the Arts Depot and its members, or whoever is selected to do the art. I don't think we should be doing that. I do think, though, I mean, a brick is that big. So if you paint anything on there, it's going to be a miniature.
Yeah,
And are
unless,
people meant to stop and look at it as they walk along and then carry on to the next grouping and stop and look again? I thought it was really more as, it's like wayfinding, it's arrows. I mean, it's like keep going the way you're going. So I'm not sure about putting images on there.
I do want to say that when we did get approval for the project, there weren't as many signs to direct people where to go. There weren't very many urban pathway signs. And we get fewer people asking now, but at the time, so many people came in. When they would get close to the depot, they couldn't figure out where the pathway went. And so we would get a lot of bike riders mostly.
Do you say you've already gotten approval for it?
Yes, from the Arts Commission, and we got the grant money for it. And so that's where Elm Street, Preston will come in.
So the Arts Commission, to clarify that, the Arts Commission approved it on the non-historic district part of the
Well,
walkway?
they approved the project from Wall Street to Preston Street.
Okay, which encompasses this?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all right, that's something to consider.
Where's Preston Street?
Preston Street is, so if you go down Depot Square and the Arts Depot is on your left, you take a left on Fuller, a right on Elm, and then it tees out at Preston Street.
Okay.
Here you go, Pam.
Can you blow that up?
So the only part of your project that's in the district is right there in front, right there in Depot Square, in the
Yes,
Depot Square
the-
Historic District?
Yes, the one block of Depot Square.
Okay.
Do you have any concerns about approval for something like this, and then someone else in the historic district is going to come to us and want to paint their bricks? I have a concern for that, because we don't allow painted brick. I don't know if anyone else
Okay.
wants to speak.
On
about-
buildings.
On
We
buildings.
don't address it on sidewalks.
We've never had to, but do you want people painting the bricks in front of your house? I mean,
No.
Well, it is a different thing that's ever come up before, is painting the bricks. Let's see if there are any public comments on it at this point. All right, Byram Geisler would like to.
Yes, Byram Geisler, 228 East Main Street, here in Abingdon. First of all, I'm not opposed to public art and not speaking out against public art. I think there's definitely a place for that in any town. And I certainly understand what's trying to be done with regard to the urban pathway and marking and showing where that is. And I see that that's a good idea. You know, the problem is when that gets introduced into the historic district, then we've got competing goals. We've got things that are in conflict. This would be the first time that this board would ever allow this type of thing in the historic district, so it would set a precedent. And there's all sorts of things that are desirable and good, but that are inconsistent with what this board and the town has been trying to achieve with the historic district. And of course, the historic district was put in place in 1970, so this board and the town has been working hard for well over half a century to achieve that very important, very desirable goal of preserving and maintaining the historic district as a place where we preserve the architectural fabric and the look and feel and as much as possible, the sort of traditional aspect of the historic district. And people come to Abingdon to see that's what we're all about. And, part of that is getting into the details of little things like the curvature of guttering or, for example, energy efficiency is a very lofty goal, but we don't allow people to take out the original windows and put in new modern windows to be energy efficient because we're preserving those original windows, the historic fabric. And so, this idea of painting scenes on sidewalks, that there's nothing historical, that there's no historical precedence for that. That's not consistent with our goal or your goal of preserving the look and feel of the historic district. And so that would be introducing a new element that draws attention to the sidewalk and does something with the brick in the sidewalk that is very atypical of what you would see historically in a town like Abingdon. And it also, even though it's a limited scope here, it would set a precedent to allow that in other parts of the district. I mean, I can see the possibility of maybe art galleries would decide to get together and decide, well, everywhere there's an art gallery, we want to put little strips of maroon brick out in front of the front door of the art gallery so we can tile that together. Or maybe drinking establishments might want to do something. Or, I mean, that could happen. The point is, once this is allowed in the historic district, it becomes very difficult to say you can't do it somewhere else. And as I was hearing it, it sounds like that the main purpose is to show where this pathway is, and it could still be done everywhere but the historic district, and in this one little block just show with signs, with appropriate signs, appropriately approved signs where the historic where the pathway goes on without any problem to address that issue. But I would be opposed to allowing this in the historic district because it would be introducing a new precedence, and you would have a hard time telling other people they can't do it, and allowing painted sidewalks would be inconsistent with the traditional look of the historic district. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Geisler before he leaves? Any comments? No. How about comments?
Just to clarify Christie's question, nobody could just go out and paint their sidewalk. It is the town sidewalk, so they would have to get permission from the town. So just to clarify that for you, nobody can just go out and paint their sidewalk.
I agree, but also someone could say, well, you let them do it.
Oh, no, I was just clarifying your point when you said anybody can go out and paint their sidewalk. Well, they can't do that because then that's the town's sidewalk.
I guess when I read the
So that's why I'm just clarifying that point for you.
when I first looked at the packet, I thought you were just painting groups of color, like green, 5 green, 5 blue, 5 whatever. But you're actually talking about art, and I do know that, like Peyton said, we're not going to judge your art, and that's not what we're here for. I guess my concern is that what I heard you say is that people are lost on that pathway, and there's so many signs directing you on that pathway that the town has already put up, that I don't feel that getting lost on the pathway is a valid reason for painting a sidewalk because of already the signage that's in place.
Any further? Brooke?
I like the idea of public art a lot, but I do worry about setting that precedent and, in other parts of the historic district. And then they would come before us, and if we allow it once, we're opening the door to possible, a lot more, things like this. So I like the idea on, not in the historic district. I think that's great, but I struggle with it being within our limits, our historic district limits.
Can you come back up? Do you want, is Mr.? You can see, we're having a
Stephen
hard time with
Reeves.
this.
I live in 911 Windsor Avenue in Bristol, Tennessee, and I'm one of the resident artists at the Arts Depot. When I was asked about this and being here and being a professional artist, I think setting a precedent is important and to be considered about that. But with parameters, it's not going to be just looking like elementary art. Now, for me as an artist, being asked to do that, I can easily envision a color palette, that it's not little scenes. I would not plan to do the courthouse, that I would do something that from a distance you see something, and within the parameters of the colors, I can easily see what you're talking about as it blends, or there's a lot of things I can envision. As far as just the historic district and how it looks, we go downtown, and I think of the little things that make Abingdon unique, and so many people that come into my studio and just loves it. I've not had one person in the 11 years I've been there saying they weren't happy about being here. And to me, it's those little things such as the sculpture next to the big building that has L.M. Elm's mural on it. All those little things that add to the not only the charm, but just the inviting, just the atmosphere of Abingdon. And to me, something like that, especially when it's done professionally, and it looks professional, and it looks clean and crisp, adds something to it. It's not just here people just walk on the sidewalk and the sidewalk just becomes the air out here, as opposed to as they go along and look at, right now we have where you can do the music. Have you gone by? If you come by you can play music around there with the homemade, whatever they're called, the metal tubes, and it really is awesome, and people enjoy that. So to me, the visual part of it is not going to distract from the historic, because even though you're saying it really isn't permanent. When the wolves came, I don't see any that were painted as an actual wolf. They were colorful, and they had scenes on them, and they were around town, and then they were not, unless they have them inside their business. So I think it's a wonderful idea, and to look at it that if there is, the precedent is that there are rules and regulations to go by with that, because it wouldn't just be anybody to say, do you have professional artists that would do that, and that easily, if you needed examples, they could probably be, could make one for you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I think it would be a wonderful thing to add to just that short span in front of the Arts Depot.
Thank you. And it does go further it goes all the way through to the train station, doesn't it? It's not just in front of the depot.
Yeah, yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Just that little, to me, that strip, yes.
I think that, thank you. We'll stand back up here. I think that probably what I'm hearing is it's the precedent that's bothering everyone about it being here in front of the old historic district's buildings here, although both the train station and the depot are pretty old too. But it's not down here in this district. I wonder if there's I wonder if we could have further comments just along those lines of yes, Caleb? Yes. Caleb?
Caleb Conklin, Planner 1 with the town. Just to put out there, it is in a sub-district, right? So artisan focused. So it is, yes, a president for the historic district, but because it is in a sub-district, you could also make the argument if someone from sub-district 1, sub-district 2, residential focus, you could always make the argument that if they do paint it in the artisan focused, that they can't do it in any other focused areas, like residential area or your business focused. So that's always something to consider too, and I just wanted to point that out there.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
Those are usually more based on the use of the building. But it is called the artisan because that's where the Arts Depot is,
Okay.
to allow that use
So
there.
we could consider it in a sub-district, something specific to that?
So
Limited, I mean, I guess the word limited.
So the sub-districts are based on use. And so sub-district 1 is the civic/business district. That's because you have a lot of businesses on Main Street. That's to allow the use there, like the Summers Building can be there, a lawyer's office can be there, that kind of stuff. But you could also have a residence there. The District 2 is just residential, so that's Valley Street and part of Park Street. 3 is the artisan district, which that's the depot. That's based on the uses, so you can have a professional studio there, you can have an art studio there, you can have that kind of stuff. So it's based on the use, but it is called the artisan-focused district for the use. And then you have the Singing Spring Cemetery, which is the use as a cemetery.
Okay, that's helpful. All right, let's talk about it for a second in that light. Anybody want to say anything, Brooke? Or do we have any more public comment? I don't want us to take so long, but it's a difficult question.
Have we ever divided out districts and made separate guidelines for each district?
No.
I
No,
don't think we've done
we have
that.
not.
So
This
I
is the
don't,
first time something like this
yeah.
has
We
come up.
had like 12 before, and then we consolidated because for some reason we had 12, and so it's just been down to 5, and that's because that's the primary use in that area is like Valley Street's mostly residential.
Could we
One
think?
is mostly business.
Could we think of a conditional, the word conditional certificate? Has some parameters to it for a limited amount of time, for instance, and then reviewed again. We haven't seen the images yet either, but it's really, I think it is the precedent of that not being where it is now, but being in other places that is the big concern.
And I'll just say that these bricks are not historic by any means. They weren't here. They don't have the limestone edging. They were just put there before. Probably when we were in the way after it was mandated that the town was going to do brick sidewalks in various sections. This was probably just one that came up on the updates thing when it was probably concrete before, and they said let's put brick. So it could be simple.
but we probably wouldn't have had them paint concrete either, though.
No, I mean, we're just talking about the actual piece of, well, what it is public art.
And,
Right, I know that.
And I will vouch for, I'm not from here originally. And so, to Chrissy's point, I know you say that maybe signage isn't really needed there. I know that I got lost as a visitor, so I think they're looking at it.
Recently, though, because I walked it the other day. In fact, I saw you when I was out there walking it. My husband and I walked the whole thing, and we did not get lost. I mean, we had never walked, but there are signs everywhere. Like, you can see the next sign from where you're standing. There's the next sign. There's that sign. You go up this road, you turn right, you go down. I mean, I thought it was very well marked.
There's some, if you're a resident, it probably seems like that. I'm just saying from a visitor
I mean, I had never
perspective.
walked it before, and I've lived here 30 years, so I'm saying I didn't know where it went, but I didn't get lost.
Oh, no, I'm just saying from a visitor's perspective. That's all I'm saying. because when I've walked that a bunch of times.
Well, how is this
it doesn't-
pathway even advertised to visitors? Like,
It's just the urban pathway. And so it's on our maps and everything, but in that area, it is a little tricky to find, like where you should go up to the other street on Fuller, because there's not really.
and
a
does
pathway
it bother the artists to have people come in the building and talk to them? I mean, I would think they would actually appreciate getting lost. You know, oh, this person just wandered in here and looked, and they love what we were doing. And I mean, you know, because you invited us to come in that day, the other day, you know, to come in because, I mean, I guess I'm just struggling with the whole painting the bricks, doing that. And I know you said that you have permission to paint further down the road bricks, so you're just talking about this one section. I mean, but I feel like I just can't wrap my head around it right now.
Well, it's just the fact that this particular section is in the historic
Right.
district. There is, yes, come up here, John.
So I think this is a tough case because, I mean, you can see the goal is a good goal and providing a good purpose. I think the biggest problem for me is that having painted scenes on the sidewalk is not consistent with what you are trying to achieve with the historic district. It's introducing, you know, this sort of artsy, kind of fun, interesting thing, and it would normally be, to my way of thinking, a perfectly nice thing to have in a town, but it's introducing into the historic district where we're trying to maximize the look and feel and preserve the traditional look as much as possible, which is exactly why the town went to all the great lengths to have this type of brick put here, was to make it look as much as possible like the other sidewalks in town. So that's not an original fabric of a sidewalk, but we've made it a priority to try to make it look like the rest of town because it's in front of two very important historic structures, the passenger depot and the train station and the depot there. And, you know, we have the traditional street lights and all of that, because that's all designed to make it blend in with the rest of the historic district and be this integral part of this historic town, you know, like Williamsburg. I mean, Williamsburg would never dream of painting art scenes on sidewalks in colonial Williamsburg for that very reason, because it has a purpose, it has a place, it's just not there because it stands out and is inconsistent with what's trying to be achieved. So that's the problem with it being on this one block. And I mean, I understand what's trying to be achieved, and I see that, but it's running, you know, right into what's otherwise trying to be achieved in the historic district in this one particular place. I mean, you know, Damascus has painted scenes on the sidewalks, and they're fun, and they're, you know, they're, you know, an art installation, but they definitely make the sidewalk in no way look historic because there's scenes painted on the sidewalk. So, you know, the two things are just not consistent in the historic district. And I think that's the biggest problem with it, and setting a precedent for someone else to, you know, not automatically being able to paint their sidewalk, but certainly coming and saying, well, I have a need, I want to do this here for this reason, for, you know, to have higher visibility at my business or whatever. You did it there, why can't I do it because I'm trying to achieve the same thing?
Okay, thank you. I wonder if, since we've identified this sub-district, and it's an artisan district, an arts district of sorts, have you given consideration to not putting it in front of the train station, but putting it in front of the arts depot itself?
No, but that would be an acceptable.
Compromise?
That would be an acceptable thing.
It would be a limited use for it.
There is a sign on the corner of Wall Street and Depot Square that directs people where to go.
So there is a wayfinding
Yes.
sign there.
And actually, yeah, and so the town manager has been really good about getting more signs up because there's a walk planned, like a public urban pathway
Yes.
walk planned in the future, and so he's been getting a few more out there. So
Yes, okay.
recently.
All right. Okay, so, what about some sort of limited, if they reduce the scope of it to be right there at the Arts Depot, which is the arts place there, and then we only allowed it in this one sub-district for this limited certificate of appropriateness, kind of a experimental limited certificate of appropriateness?
Question, how would people be alerted to this pathway, to these markings? I mean, how will they know what that's about?
Right. Well, a lot of people are already involved. We probably have had about 150 volunteers on the project. So many people will have a small investment. We did a project with Knitted Women where they painted some of the bricks that are going to go in on Elm Street. And they'll have a small investment in their town, and we'll be going out there to look at their artwork, and they'll be bringing their family to see their artwork. We did a few students, we did some neighbors in the neighborhoods near the pathway. We did classes for them. And we'll be putting it on our social media and boosting it so that people will know. As part of the project, we did a traffic count on the urban pathway for 12 months, and we're going to do another 12-month count after they go on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
Only because I'm a former planner, and I can't get that career out of my head. So I just wanted to prove the effectiveness of getting some public art out and how it makes people want to go be out in the town on foot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any pictures of what you've done on Elm Street?
I could send you some of those. Nothing's installed yet. So we have scheduled date for end of May to install those on Elm Street. But so far we have about 400 bricks painted.
So you already have 400 bricks.
Yes.
You're talking another 105
Yes.
that you need, or you're asking us to approve, even though
Yeah.
you're already putting in 400.
Other places.
But on this path, real next to it, like adjacent to it, I'm assuming, right down.
Yeah, so if you start at Wall Street and go down Depot Square, we were going to do that block of Depot Square. Then Fuller, there's a sign that's going up at Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't do any there, and it's a concrete sidewalk. So we won't be putting any bricks in there. And then Elm Street, which goes down toward Preston, and then Hagee, as it makes that little jog, that part is hard to find for people.
But there's a sign right there on that corner that they may have just put up on this corner right here. There's, back up a little, Kate. There is a sign there. I mean,
Yes.
I walked it Saturday.
Yes, they did. That's a new sign.
Again,
So
this
is
part is
the-
not in the OH.
But is that?
I know, but I'm saying, but there are
Yeah.
signs that's directing.
But are they going to brick that sidewalk all?
No.
So how are the bricks?
They're going to go beside the pavement.
Oh, okay, okay, sort of like an edger.
Public Works decided that's the best
Okay,
best
okay,
way.
Kind of like an edging, like the limestone edging is with the concrete.
okay, it's just with bricks, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But they're only every 24 feet.
That's just for Depot Square. So we sort of changed the design for Depot Square because we wanted it to not deter from the sidewalk so much. So little groupings here and there rather than a whole line of markers.
So, did I hear you say that you could consider reducing the scope of it, at least like this could be square one,
Absolutely.
step one?
We could do 50 bricks, we could do 25 bricks.
If the scale is correct on this map, that's about 600 feet. It's marked out in red. Which-
But they're talking about just right what we're looking
I
at.
know, I'm just saying, so that's 25 groupings if you're going every 24 feet.
For the whole block.
For the whole block, not for this one section.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
So what we're talking about now is limiting it to right there where the Arts Depot is, where the arts organization is, and not putting it in front of the historic train station.
But I don't see where that accomplishes the stated goal, if it's not a continuous,
Right.
The stated goal, what state the stated goal?
to show people where the urban pathway is.
Oh, okay, so is that the stated goal, to mark out the urban pathway?
But it's already marked with the signs, so
Yeah,
I feel like the brick sidewalk is
is
pretty
this-
self-explanatory. I mean, you
Yeah.
follow the sidewalk to the end.
right.
I love the idea on Preston and Elm
Mhm.
because that's sort of nondescript and that
Yeah.
would bring some fun color life in there.
Mhm.
I do struggle with it in front of the historic buildings.
It would take more than 400 bricks, though,
to do that.
to edge all of those sidewalks on those
Yes,
streets.
we'll have to put a few gaps in, yes.
All right. Does anybody think they're ready for a motion? Time is going by.
How does our status as a appointed entity of members, what's our status in relation to the Arts Commission? I mean, if that group
Well,
has approved this,
They have approved it for somewhere else. Correct. They've approved it for over
The
there
whole
on
project,
Fuller.
I
and-
They approved the whole
Yeah.
project.
They approved it from Wall Street to Preston
Yeah,
Street.
they've
Oh,
approved
they've approved it,
They've
including
encroached
this.
on ours, yeah.
so
Was there a caveat that that then had to be additional approval by this board?
Not in the acceptance letter that I got.
Well, that's a caveat that is difficult to explain.
So it's kind of up to, since it is the OH district, it's up to the HPRB to decide.
On this? Okay. Okay, all right, I'll ask again for a motion. Anybody ready for a motion?
If you would prefer to see if maybe the scenes or something's an issue, maybe you would want to table it to see what it would look like maybe, and then put, like Betsy said, maybe a temporary thing of, because it is right in front of the Arts Depot, you can say this is just a promotional thing, it's nothing permanent. Maybe that's something you feel with that way.
What would a delay do to you?
It depends. When would your next meeting be?
The first part of June?
It would be June 4th.
We could still probably get it done.
That's if you guys are having issues just with maybe what it would look like, seeing everything.
'Cause I was going to say, the only thing that will get us is being able to actually see the images, and Peyton's already made a point that that's really not our
Mhm.
purview anyway.
yeah.
I mean, the delay would get us time to give it further consideration, but I don't know, it sounds like that there is a motion to be made.
I'm sort of stymied. I don't know how to proceed.
Well, our options are to make a motion to approve it as presented, to approve it with limitations, to deny it, or to table it. You see, it's a struggle. also, it will also fail for lack of a motion, technically.
Somebody would still have to make a motion, in a sense.
Christie?
I don't even know how to make a motion, because I don't know.
Well, we've got those 4 choices.
I know. Well, then I'm going to make a motion that we deny it.
Okay, the motion is on the floor from Ms. Hartshorn that we deny the motion as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Ms. Bunn has seconded that motion as presented. Any further comment? Roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
I don't want to make either yay or nay. What do I do in that case?
Abstain.
You can abstain, but
I don't think you should abstain.
I don't think you should abstain. You have to make a
That
decision.
doesn't help. We need to make a decision.
I'll vote nay.
You're voting against the motion?
Yes.
Against the motion?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Boyd has voted against the motion.
Mrs. Pillion's not here. Mr. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
I'm having a hard time with it also. I'm going to vote for it.
For it to be denied.
Mhm.
And Mrs. Bunn?
Aye.
I wish it could come, in an abbreviated way, but another way.
Well, I appreciate your consideration because
We're totally struggled
it
with
has
it.
been very interesting conversation.
Well,
and
you've been very tolerant, and I think all of us like the whole idea of it. It's the whole precedent of it, and the scope of it in front of the train station. It's regretful.
Still.
It's great other
Got
places.
everybody thinking.
What'd you say?
It got everybody thinking.
Yes, it did.
It did.
We've never had anything like that before.
I don't think we should value just because it's more valuable architecturally, I don't think we should value the depot any
Any less.
above the arts depot,
You mean the train station?
train station, well, the old depot.
Well, I know, I said that that's also historic too. It's just that the depot itself is an arts space. That was my caveat for that. Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
That's a tough
It was. All right. The second application we have is the town of Abingdon. The town of Abingdon for installation of 2 bike racks located on the town of Abingdon, East Main Street. Okay? Is someone here?
I'm going to
Right,
step.
okay.
The Town of Abington applicant slash owner have requested approval of a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of 2 round tube circular bike racks into a portion of the town right-of-way, specifically near the intersection of East Main Street and Court Street. Tubing will be fabricated from 2 3/8-inch steel, pre-finished at glossy black. Each bike rack will be anchored into the town-owned brick sidewalk using base flanges with a sealed design, preventing unwanted moisture or insects into the tubing. Overall dimensions for each bike rack will be 35 inches by 31 inches. When in use, only 2 bikes can be locked onto each bike rack at a time. Some background again, the town of Abington is known for its historic resource and charm. In the early to mid-20th century, numerous portions of the sidewalk were converted to brick with limestone edging that can still be seen today. Staff findings. The applicant proposed to install 2 round tube circular bike racks into a portion of the town right-of-way, specifically near the intersection of East Main Street and Court Street. Tubing will be fabricated from 2 3/8-inch steel, pre-finished at glossy black. Each bike rack will be anchored into the town-owned brick sidewalk using base flanges with a sealed design preventing unwanted moisture and insects into the tubing. Again, the overall dimensions will be 35 inches by 31 inches. The conversion of numerous portions of the town sidewalk in the early to mid 20th century to brick with limestone edging, and more recently, numerous portions of concrete sidewalk converted to brick with concrete edging due to the absence of limestone edging is not a contributing resource in Abington's Old and Historic District. However, the brick sidewalks with limestone or concrete edging contribute to creating a historic feel for the Old and Historic District. The proposed bike racks are simple in design, do not result in the loss of material related to any contributing resource, nor do they detract from any contributing resource, and evoke design elements similar to bike racks found in other historic districts.
Okay. Very good.
And so this is just the one in front of the Summers Building.
Mm-hmm.
That's in front of where Foresta is, and Bundy's office is in there too. And that's just kind of an up-close view of what it looks like. And this is similar to other bike racks that are seen in Williamsburg and other historic districts all throughout the state of Virginia.
Okay.
The applicant is here if you have any questions.
Where is the applicant?
Why is this written as if it had not already happened?
I mean, they've already been installed.
Yeah, no, it's written as they are installed.
No, it's not. It says they proposed to do this.
Oh, I'm sorry. But they requested.
That's not,
Or they have allowed to, I'm sorry. But, again, this is similar to all the other bike racks you see in other old and historic districts around the state of Virginia and other places of the United States.
So this is
But
sort of
if
a
they've already-
retroactive.
This is retroactive, yes.
Retroactive, okay. Okay. All right.
Why is it retroactive, though? I mean,
They have already been installed.
no, I know that. But,
They forgot to come before us.
They didn't come before.
okay.
They will next time, I'm sure.
Are these the only two planned?
There's other ones maybe, but not in the OH, not that I know of in the OH yet. There's other ones throughout town, but they're not in the OH district.
Okay.
So it's just these two.
How do people know these are bike racks? Just curious. It doesn't look
It's like a circle.
It's you see these designs in other cities, they're bike racks.
People on bikes, maybe they know that.
I guess. I mean, they look like tires, maybe.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? Excuse me. All right. Any further questions?
how many people
We need a retroactive.
ride a bike into the district?
Peyton had a question.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I mean, is there a need for bike racks in the historic district on sidewalks? You don't see that many people on bikes.
I will say that this is not just because they're riding all throughout town possibly. It's not just because they have a stop in the old historic district. They have stops all throughout town.
Who has stops?
I'm saying a person who's riding a bike.
People
In
ride
town.
bikes through town. They might
Oh,
want
I
to stop
thought
for a second.
It
Yeah,
sounded
no,
like
no.
you're talking about a tour or something.
No. I'm saying if a person's riding a bike through town, yeah, they might have a stop at one of the buildings that are located in the old historic district. But they're going to be riding other places through town. And
So-
again, this doesn't affect any contributing building. It doesn't detract from any contributing building.
But are we going to have these on every block at some point?
Yeah, that's okay.
They'll be spaced throughout periodically appropriately.
Is there any kind of limit on how long you can keep your bike parked there? Somebody
Nope.
can park it there for 6 months? And it's going to...
Well, I don't think anybody would have it parked there for 6 months.
Why not?
Because I don't think they.
Like, what if, I'm just saying, what if you feel like it? I mean, it's not like a parking meter, you can't...
Again, only 2 can be placed on that rack. And I would say also other design districts, they don't have regulations for bike racks. They don't look at them in any district. And I've looked at City of Williamsburg, Town of Leesburg, Norfolk, Portsmouth. They don't even regulate them.
Okay. We ready for a motion on this one?
They're already using it.
To approve it retroactively. We've done that before. Somebody's forgotten to come forward. Are these the only ones in the district right
Yes.
now? Yeah. Okay. I need a motion.
I mean, what if we don't approve it? The town gonna come and take them away?
I will say also, again, I will reiterate, no other historic district in the state of Virginia and everywhere else regulates bike racks.
Well, we're not any other district.
This is also the city of Williamsburg and other ones that I would say we're equal to in preservation, if not they're more strict.
I'm kind of wondering why we need them. I mean, just to be honest, I don't.
It's for
I
public-
have a bike, I ride my bike, I park it at the Creeper Trail, I walk through town. I don't ever ride up that hill and park it next to a mailbox and go about my day. I mean, I'm just wondering, in a town our size, do we need these in the historic district?
I would say you would, just because it's a public utility for people to use. Because again, just because they ride their bike in the OH district doesn't mean all their stops are in the OH. They might want to ride to Feel Good Berries and Bowls. They might want to ride to Holston Mountain Artisans. They might want to ride to any other business not in the OH.
Well, how are they gonna know this is a bike? I mean, seriously,
It-
it does not look like a bike.
I guess
There's
people
bike
ride
racks.
bikes. I guess if people
I
ride
ride bikes
know
all the
that.
time, and I've never seen one of these.
There's other bike racks like this all throughout other states and all throughout the United States and also other cities and towns. These are similar to what I have in Binghamton, New York, too.
What you usually see are these.
Yeah, or even, yeah, I mean, so you know that's what it is, but I guess you can just,
These are pretty unobtrusive.
they are, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I guess maybe people now clip them to a pole. I've never seen anybody parking a bike in town. So,
All righty. Reluctantly.
Annoying that things, ask for forgiveness and not for approval, permission.
Mr. Boyd's pointing out that it should have been asked for approval to start with rather than having to do it retroactively.
And if you take them up, you're gonna have holes in the brick sidewalk.
Mhm. Following this, if any others are proposed, they will come before they're installed, correct?
We can. It's also, I'm making the point of
I know.
that no other districts look at them.
I don't think that applies, Gabe. We have to, these applications need to rise and fall on our knowledge and our interpretation of the guidelines, not on what somebody else has done.
And I'm just saying that the guidelines are there to protect contributing buildings and sites. This is not a contributing building or site. It's not a contributing resource.
The building
But we
said
did
you're-
comment on mailboxes that were placed on sidewalks and other things
Mhm.
that have gone on sidewalks. So I feel like,
Which was right beside this.
yes.
Well, the mailbox for the Summers building, that was in the Summers foundation. It was part of the building. It was not part of the sidewalk. That's why.
Okay. Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that retroactively we leave them where they are. However, I want to add to my motion that that's it, those two, or that they have to come before us. Any kind of structure that comes in to the historic district, whether it be a mailbox or a bicycle rack or whatever else you come up with, should be brought to us and not just given a waiver.
So Ms. Hartshorn has made a motion to approve these specifically with,
Retroactive.
retroactively, specifically and retroactively, but specific to these two and not future ones. Second?
I'll second that.
Ms. Bond has seconded that motion. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mrs. Pillion's not here. Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mrs. Bond.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Application number 3. This is the town of Abingdon again.
The Town of Abington applicants as shown have requested approval of certificate of appropriateness for site and exterior changes, so this is just a continuation of the project at the train station. The property is located at 306 Depot Square. The Abington Depot was built in 1909 and has been owned by the Town of Abington since 1982. This is just a historic photo I got, just to show that there was bricks there at one point around the train station. So the applicant proposes to remove the existing asphalt and reuse the existing bricks originally associated with the train station to have a brick area around the entire train station as it originally was, and install an exhaust vent to come out of the side of the rear reconstructed dormer, painted to match the color of the slate roof. The vent will be no taller than the peak of the roof of the train station. Lastly, the exterior lights will be replaced with a replacement nearly matching the existing. So I'll just go through the photos here. So this is just a historic photograph showing that the train station did have a brick platform essentially all the way around it. So you can see kind of the bricks there.
So can you point to where this is? This is right around the building
It's
itself,
in the
correct?
back, yeah.
Yeah. So it's on the front. They had bricks on the front of the building that wrapped around. So just imagine this is the walkway
Right.
all around, and then it went down and then all the way up. So they had essentially a brick platform there. These are the test pits that well, I should say sawed through the asphalt. And you can see the bricks that are still there underneath.
Wow. That's pretty
Again,
neat.
there's more. There's some that you can even see underneath the blacktop. So this is from the train tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So as you go down further up and down, you'll see bricks that are still there underneath the asphalt. So this train station, the roof is not original, the skylights are not original, and the dormers are not original. It originally had just a asphalt shingle roof that was like a green asphalt.
Mm-hmm.
It was brought back with it was reconstructed to look how it did before with the skylights and the dormers and the roof line. So the roof's gone over a massive upheaval to, bring it back to how it looked before. But none of this is original. None of the roofing material, the dormers, nothing is. So the exhaust for the kitchen that would be going in here would come from the reconstructed, non-historic dormer. Again, it's just reconstructed on the side here. Slate would go around it. That's the same cladding material as the roof. And it would go up to the peak of the roof line here. And the exhaust would be painted the blackish gray to blend in with the slate. That's the whole roof. So it wouldn't be going above the roof, the main roof, I should say. So you wouldn't be able to see it from Depot Square. And it would be painted the same color, and it would be in a part that's not original. It was reconstructed. The lights, oops. The lights you can see here, so there's 1, 2, and then there's 3 more on the front side. And then there was one more over here. There was one here at one point. It was removed at some point. And there's like a piece of wood over the opening where you would see the conduit come out. But in total, there's 5 lights there now. Somebody's painted over them before and tried to, and they're chipping off and everything and all that. So the lights that we're proposing look exactly the same as the ones that will be there, the ones that are there now, brown and all that. So it's just take up the asphalt and use the same bricks that are there now. As you can see, we did those test holes. And there's some underneath where the train tracks are. The vent, the exhaust fan would go in the reconstructed dormer and go up to the peak of the roof. slate would go around it, and the exhaust would be painted that gray/black color. And then the lights would be changed out.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And Matt's here to provide any further detail.
Matt, would you join us? Thank you. You don't have to present a freezer tonight, do you?
No, we've decided not to do the outdoor walk-in coolers.
All righty. Any questions? Matt Henderson?
Well, can I address the asphalt? I went back there the other day. Do you think all those bricks are there?
Well, like I said, we done several little test pilot holes, but, you know, so what little bit of history we've gathered, and I do know that asphalt runs almost down to the Arts Depot.
Yeah, I mean, I walked that whole section, yeah.
So there is brick pavers down through there. So my thought process is,
They're under there somewhere?
And
they're under there somewhere, but there could be potential that some of them are damaged.
You have extras?
So I don't have them on hand.
I
But
mean,
what
you think
but
we
what
get
I'm
whole-
thinking is
you know.
we could pull from the Arts Depot, coming back to the train station, to be able to go around the building to repair any damaged or missing pavers. And then we would just go back with some,
Well, as a board, we're all for getting rid of asphalt.
well, I think it will look.
It looks neat back. I was
I
surprised
mean, we're
at
putting
how
all this
deep it
time and
is.
money
Like,
and effort into
yeah.
something, and I think
Yeah.
restoring it back.
Well, the train station looks really wonderful.
But I'm,
Worth all this effort.
that asphalt is thick.
Yeah, it's about, well, the asphalt's probably about 3 inches thick, and then there's a base layer about 3 inches thick, so.
So you're basically, this basically has three parts. It's removing the asphalt and restoring the brick underneath it.
Yes.
And then the vent to go,
So I want to go, so you got this dormer here, and you got a small A that goes back between the dormer and the skylight. And the plan is just to run the stack up through that. And then
Okay.
that way we're not going into the main structure of the roof, and I'm not having to worry about leaks or anything like that, because I actually have some additional slate shingles that are down in the basement of this.
oh, okay.
So,
That's good.
and that
Okay.
way, you know, we're concentrating into a smaller area that we have to repair. I can take all those slate shingles off that dormer, cut me a hole, put my exhaust through it, and then come back and seal it up really good.
Okay. And then number 3 is replacing the light fixtures.
Yes, you know, those light fixtures, the paint somebody's painted them at one point in time, or the paint on them is starting to just chip off. So instead of going back and painting them and it being a maintenance nightmare of having to repaint them every few years, I'd like to just replace them like for like.
Okay.
In that brown color, you're just.
Yes, it'd be the
Oh,
exact, I found some online that looks exactly like that.
All right.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve this COA as presented.
Okay, Ms. Hartshorn has made a motion to approve the application as presented for its 3 parts, one part being the asphalt brick, second part being the vent, third part being the lights.
Second.
Second by Peyton. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Boyd,
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn,
Aye.
Mrs. White,
Aye.
and Mrs. Bunn.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Anything further that we need to deal with?
Just some old business / matters now on the agenda. For Preservation Day selection, I know we've had rather long meetings, but we really need to select a date.
Okay.
We've always done it's been more in September and October,
Mm-hmm.
and we've tried, I know the Highlands Festival was something, but I don't think we have to worry about that with these months of the year. Let me get to that. And so that's the month of September. And so we're also thinking about maybe trying to expand it to maybe being a multi-day thing. We'll have to see, maybe a tombstone cleaning or whatever. So having it earlier when it's warmer might help
Mm-hmm.
to do
Where did you
that
say
activity.
Two what?
2 days.
We might have it be a 2-day thing where the main day will still be the presentations and how to preserve your buildings and the materials and everything. But we've applied for grants, which I'll get to that on the CLG grant submission update. But maybe expanding it to include like the cemetery, like cleaning or something like that, some other activities. So having it earlier when it's still warm is beneficial for some of those activities than maybe in late October when we got lucky last year where it was a nice day, but it might be colder.
So back it up into September is what you're thinking?
Maybe, yeah. That's what I'm thinking. And it would still be the same time frame, same everything. It's just, maybe
Like,
having
which
an
days
early
of the
one.
week were you looking at? Like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday?
Probably Thursday, Friday, I'd say. And like probably the preservation day itself would end at 5 because, we had that presentation at the end and it was later on in the day. And we had a good turnout still, but it wasn't as much as we had
Right.
before. So I think we're going to cut it at 5.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll be on Friday. So maybe Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday, but somewhere in there.
Why don't you circulate, I think we're probably all fine with pulling it back into September.
Yeah.
Okay.
Circulate a few dates and we're all
I can do
reply to all.
I can do a poll.
Poll, yeah.
And
Check
then
with the high school, see when homecoming is, see when anything big that would interfere with getting the Martha, I guess. Making
Yep.
sure they're available.
and so probably the 12th or the 19th, probably
Okay.
aiming for because in there. But I'll send
Middle
out
of the
I'll
month.
send out the poll for you guys to say here's the dates that work
Yeah.
best for me.
Okay.
And I think Christy, did you talk to me about Windows again? That maybe you want.
Well, I just thought that the first half of that webinar about the windows was really, really good. And I know that the last time we had windows at preservation, I wasn't sure how well attended that.
It was very well attended.
It
I actually
was?
had
Okay.
somebody call in because they had a questions about tradesmen to find a list, and I said DHR has a list and everything and all
Okay.
that, but they said they love their window thing and they remember a lot of residents that were here, and they were asking David for
Yeah.
information. Even though David couldn't be here for it, he knew of people that could
But
do
I
the
mean,
work
if
like
we've
him.
already done it and someone has any other ideas, that's fine
Mm.
too. I was
Well,
just-
it was my idea to have it another Windows too.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure.
and we can have that, and I
We
think,
could have somebody, a
Well,
different
Betsy
type of
said,
person.
you sat in on that webinar too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really informative.
and I think, Betsy, you and me discussed briefly about maybe, like Mike Pulis
Yes.
is the brick person
Yes,
for
the brick
DHR.
person.
Maybe
I
they
think
have
that's what I
a
think
He does-
we
he
should
window
does a great
person?
job.
Well, he's the brick person, but there's another person that can be a
He is.
window person, yeah.
Okay.
Somebody like that rather than a vendor.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a vendor, but
No.
someone that can talk about the importance of the old wood and
Yeah.
how that, preserving, not replacing. which
So
is
maybe
really-
it'd be like it might be, instead of Mike Pulis who does the bricks, maybe DHR, somebody
Yeah,
that their
there's somebody
specialty
else,
is
right.
windows.
I mean,
Because that
anybody
is
else.
something that comes up so very often, and it is a feature that causes a whole lot of consternation a lot of
Well,
times.
and we also, have a lot of success in this town for preserving old windows. Because at
Yes.
the courthouse, I mean,
We do.
it's great, so.
And then somebody else brought up tax credits. We have had a lot more people recently that's come before you guys for COAs and everything. They're going through the tax credit process or are looking into it. We had it 2 years ago by DHR, and my idea was it might be good just to have a refresher for people because, new people move in or some people aren't
think
thinking
I-
about
A
it.
little
and
breakout
come.
session or.
I
short-
definitely think so, because I think that that's a huge plus, and I think that many people are not aware of that.
Okay, so those are two that I thought that you guys maybe wanted to recircle back to, which is perfectly fine because there are two very important ones. One is to help get the money to help
Were
preserve
you
those
thinking of
buildings.
doing a luncheon then too, like we did in the
Yep,
past?
it's gonna be kind of the same sort of,
But is there a new location that we haven't explored? We did like that place down there, we've done.
I'm gonna be looking at some places since we always try to pick a place where we're trying to bring more awareness to. So like the cemetery was our first year where
Right.
we had the preservation plan and we were bringing awareness to that.
Mm-hmm.
The muster grounds and retirement, we try and bring awareness to that, so that was why it was last year. So
Right.
I'll look at where we had it, where maybe we're looking at other places, and I'll shoot some ideas.
Okay.
Has there been
Great.
any further development in the art space area? Do we want to have any, we want to include a little section on that? Or
For the art space,
the art
Not
space?
really.
We don't want to have anybody talk about art. We've had a lot of art issues coming up, and
But some of that's not in the historic district,
some of it is, isn't it?
just a
Just part of it?
tiny.
Or do
little
we
bit
want to
of it.
have,
The depot is.
is it time to have the museum give a presentation on the new wing? Like an hour of that, or 45 minutes or something? I mean, or could we have our lunch up there?
Yeah.
Maybe
That could be
after the
fun.
William King and
Well,
have the
well,
lunch?
not this,
Oh.
this time we won't be ready.
We won't be ready.
By this fall, but the following fall, yes.
but I can look at some sites and everything and see where maybe we haven't explored before,
Yeah.
and see if we can see if
Because I
that'd be a
just
good
think if
place.
we kind of focus on what else we have
Mm.
in our town, that maybe people aren't And like the muster grounds, I thought was great because not a lot of people hadn't been out there.
Yep, and it was just to bring awareness to that site.
Yeah.
So updates on some grants and other things, and then if you have any question on the waivers, I can get to those. We've submitted 3 CLG grant applications. One is Preservation Day. We've asked for a little bit more money because we need it, as you saw in the morning, it was packed and people were busting out the door, so we need a little bit bigger space for some of those presentations. So we asked for a little bit more money on that. And then the other one was to repair some tombstones in the cemetery that are at critical condition from our preservation plan. So we're building off of a plan that we already have. That's to get a person that's like my professor from grad school. That was her business, was repairing historic tombstones.
Oh, yeah, very good.
So that one. The other one was, and this is where you guys can help me out, is we applied for a grant for a company to do historic research. So you know how you approve those plaques for the Revolution, Revolutionary sites? Our goal is to hopefully, if people want a plaque on their building, that's not in the Revolutionary era, but they can still get a plaque, that company, if we're rewarded the grant, will do research up to 1970 for that site. So if you know of any homeowners, property owners that own a property in the old historic district that would like a plaque that says the whole story of their site.
Are these the ones with the QR codes?
Yes.
Fireman Betsy Thomas?
Yes. And so you've already proved those. Those are just for,
Right.
in terms of that grant that we originally got for revolutionary sites. The plaque program and the app we're looking to expand eventually to buildings and other things.
Anybody that wants.
Yeah, not
So,
just.
Yeah.
yeah. So if you know somebody in the OH district that would like a plaque that says like a quick kind of like interesting thing about their building, and then a QR code that has the whole history, and if we're awarded that grant, they will do it. We're looking at probably 5 buildings. So I've talked to tourism and said if there's any businesses that want it and the property owner agrees to it, we can look into that. Or if you know of a property owner that has a contributing building in the OH, you can say, you know, we haven't been awarded anything yet, but this might be something down the pipeline. Let the town know that you're interested, and we can kind of create a database of who wants one.
Okay.
And so if we don't get a firm to do it, I've been trying to contact colleges and universities. So how I got my real world experience doing projects at sites, history students can do the same
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
through our local universities and colleges.
Okay.
And
Do you
they're,
have any feedback from the letters that went out?
I've only received 2 that said they were vacant, but nobody's complained, nobody said
Okay.
anything
I've
bad.
had
so.
2 or 3 people say they were happy to get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we're continuing
It is.
that.
And I do want to point out, you were talking about the funding that was going to help to fund those 3 things, and you called it CLG, that's Certified Local Government. That is a real feather in Abingdon's crown to be a certified local government. It has access now to a whole pool of money that is just for Virginia certified local government. So it's good that Abingdon's one of those.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is, you know, keeping up on that training. So I appreciate everybody that did the training. And
Yes.
like I said, I'll send out an email that, you know, I've usually gathered a whole bunch of trainings are registered for them, and I'll just send out a mass email. If you see one that's in that email that you've already done, don't feel like you need to do it again. But if you see one that you would like to do, the recordings will be in that email, and then you just have to let me know, hey, I watched this one. This way I can put it in our report, since every year, as you guys know, we have to report to DHR of like how many trainings, which trainings a board member did.
Right.
To
That's
keep
good.
that.
That's also good.
That's very helpful.
Training is very
So.
good. Okay.
Okay, if you have any questions about the COA waivers, I can answer them. If not,
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Did you make it? Okay. Mr. Boyd made a motion to adjourn. Ms.
Christie
Hartshorn seconded it.
Mr. Boyd,
Aye.
Mr. Hartshorn, Mrs. White,
Aye.
Mrs. Bond.
Aye.
All right. All right, everybody. Good evening.